Roseanne Jones from Pray It Off. I'm getting good at that. Okay, and they're going to know. So, okay, so order your burger without a bun, they're saying. Breads, again. Breads are tricky because they are very high in salt. I was looking for something because I work with some of the colleges to try to find lower sodium versions of things. And it's so discouraging because they really don't make reduced sodium buns and things like that. You're just kind of stuck with it. And then they're tricky because they'll say, oh, look, this half a bun has 250 milligrams of sodium in it. Look how low it is. But then you always have to put the other half of the bun with it. So then we're up to 500 something, and then it's really not good anymore. So yeah, a little bit tricky on how so you've got to pay attention to your nutrition facts label and how big that serving size is. Because a half a bun, a half a hamburger bun, where are we going with that, right? So, okay, and then taste your food before you pick up the salt shaker. I like that one. And, okay, so what can you do at home? Okay, so I like to put this out there. I don't think it's bad to add a little salt to your food. If you're making your foods at home and you're cooking with less salt or no salt at all, or products that don't have salt in them, and you get to the table and you think that it should have a little salt on it, I say yes to that, and I'm going to tell you why. So consider the potato chip. So potato chips can be very caloric as well, but as far as salt goes, they're pretty low in sodium. They're like a 7%, right around in there for a serving. When you eat a potato chip, the salt sits right on top of it. It's not in the potato chip. So you taste that salt way better than anything else because it's sitting on top. So that's like when you add the salt to your food at the table, it's going to be sitting right on top. You're going to taste that first if you think that your food needs that. But always taste first because your cooking is probably way better. And you can train your taste buds to enjoy less salt too. So it could take a couple of weeks, but it's worth trying because then you just reduce the sodium, reduce it very slowly, and then before you know it, you can really taste the salt. And I'm working with preschools right now too, so we're trying to get these little ones to not taste the salt like we all learned to taste it. So we really, we're kind of ruined in a way. We have to work at it now. But we're hoping to bypass that step because if they have low sodium foods in preschool and then they make it to the public schools, there's limits everywhere about how much the meals can have in them. And so hopefully we're saving the next generation from a lot more heart disease than we're experiencing now in our population. Okay, so ways to flavor your foods without sodium. How many people are home cooks here? Any good chefs in the room? Yeah, good cooks. All right, good, excellent. I enjoy cooking most of the time, I'm going to say, but sometimes I don't. Okay, so I will cook healthy every time though. When I'm cooking, it's a good meal. So they want you to use fresh herbs. We want you to use fresh herbs. You can use dried herbs or frozen herbs. And then they have herbs in tubes now that you can get at probably Wegmans. I think you can get them at Wegmans too.
You can get anything at Wegmans.
Yes, you can get anything. I mean, the herbs come every which way now. You can buy them all already cut up, and so it comes in all sorts of ways. Everything, and even on the sheet, it says how much sodium is in that. I want to remind you, and I didn't mention this earlier, but everything has sodium in it. Even the beef that you eat has sodium in it, and it's not because of added brine, it's just natural. Every vegetable has a little bit of sodium in it, every bean. So if you look back at that one page where there's, I think it looks like garbanzo beans there, the one with and without. So there's 300 milligrams of sodium in the canned that isn't reduced sodium, and then there's 120 in the other. And then if you look, there's a bag of dried beans that still has 25 milligrams of sodium in it, and that isn't in a brine at all. So that means that in that serving of garbanzo beans, there's 25 milligrams of sodium, and there's no salt in it. So everything has a little bit of sodium naturally in it. Yes?
Is there drinking water with sodium in it?
I would say yes.
And the question?
And does our drinking water have sodium in it? And I think yes, but I don't even know how much, I couldn't tell you, but I don't think it's that much.
Well, and the bottled water does not.
Okay, so maybe it doesn't.
No.
So, I mean,
This
maybe
has
not.
got 0.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't have any.
I don't know about tap water.
So sodas have sodium in them, so they add salt to soda. I mean, you're thirsty and you drink salt, what's that? That's not good, right? Yes.
We have so many different salts out there. We have kosher salt, we have sea salt, we have Himalayan salt, we have ginger salt, we have black salt, we've got all kinds of different salts.
I'm so glad that you reminded me to talk about this.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
so-
I want to
yeah,
know what
okay.
is the best table salt and cooking salt
Okay,
to use?
so the question is, there's so many salts out there. And so there's the big crystal salts that are out there, and there's table salts, and what's better? In end of the day, they're all the same amount of sodium. The difference might be when it asks for a teaspoon of salt and you use table salt, you're gonna have more salt in your little tablespoon or teaspoon than you would if you had Himalayan salt, for example, that's chunky, or kosher salt, because it's not gonna fit that much because it's bigger crystals. So it might be slightly lower, only because you're not getting as much salt in that teaspoon.
So I heard that's good for you, is that better than like?
I don't think so. It doesn't hurt. How's that? Yeah, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of trendy things out there, and salt is one of those things that they're really working with now. Yes?
I just want there's coconut amino and then there's the soy amino, do they have less sodium than like regular soy sauce?
I don't know. I've never heard of coconut amino.
There's a coconut, I think you might.
Coconut amino.
and soy amino? Do you use?
I don't know. I don't know the products.
No.
I'm not familiar with them. I'm gonna have to go look now, of course, but.
Yeah, they say it's better than the regular, than the other soy sauce.
Where do you purchase this soy
You can
sauce?
get them anywhere.
Is it with the rest of the soy sauces? Coconut amino,
I
we're
think
talking.
so. Coconut amino and soy amino.
Soy amino,
Yeah,
okay.
use that
I don't know.
for flavor.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So cooking at home is your best option. You can use citrus, really flavors things nicely, garlic, onions, ginger, all kinds of spices. I always have to look up how to use spices on things, but I'm good at, I don't mind looking things up. Yes?
When I first started praying off, I didn't use salt at all, any kind of salt whatsoever. But now that I've been here for a while and lost some weight, I've been buying this Morton's light salt, and it says it's 50% less sodium.
So yes, that's probably, so she's using a Morton's, say it again. Light salt. And yeah, so if it's got less sodium in it, that's
It says
a
on the
good thing.
package it's 50% less sodium than regular salt. So I
Yep,
go
50%
by the
less
package.
sodium. she's
Unless you
saying.
add more.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, unless you're putting it with, the pre-processed foods. The other thing I really want to mention too is that a way to get your blood pressure down, what your body needs, which counteracts and works against your sodium intake, is your potassium intake. You want your potassium to be really high. So where do you get potassium from? Vegetables and fruits in general. Just eat lots of vegetables and fruits. Yep. So any of those will have some potassium in. So the more you eat of fruits and vegetables, which is good for us in so many different ways, and that's another reason why you should eat lots of it. Okay, so let me see, do we have, so the take-home points, I guess we're to the last page here. So use your nutrition facts label. Remember the 5 and 20 rule when you go to the grocery store and you're looking at your facts label. Try to compare your products. If there's two that you're kind of thinking between, look to see which one's lower in sodium. Fresh and frozen are much lower in sodium than canned foods. When at restaurants, choose wisely, ask for things, don't be afraid to ask for, to not have salt on it or take the cheese off, or I want to substitute vegetables for French fries, something like that. Those things will work. Order dressings on the side and gravies if you're at a restaurant. Taste your food before you pick up the salt shaker. And remember that blood pressure really doesn't have any warning signs. High blood pressure doesn't have warning signs, so you should just have it checked all the time. Any questions? Any more questions?
Yeah. Now's the time, everyone. Any other questions?
Iodized salt with the iodine, like, if it doesn't say iodized salt, it's still okay.
It's, I think they still really do recommend iodized salt because we don't get goiters anymore. And that was it was affecting our thyroid gland, I think, so it's better to continue on with that. Yeah. You don't have to have everything iodized salt, but there's no reason to not have the iodized salt either. Yep. Yes?
Pizza and like say tacos, is it higher salt because of the seasoning mixed with the hamburgers, or is it just a combination of cheese and canned tomatoes and bread? Why is it?
It's all of those things, yes. I think it's because the wrap or the tortilla is going to be very high in salt for Mexican food. It's going to have the seasoning, the salty seasoning that you're cooking the meat in. It's going to be the cheese. What else do we say on there? It's going to be
Sausage.
like any kind of
Sausage.
like hot
Sausage.
sauce. Sausage. Yep. So, yeah, so all of those. Yeah, that's pizza, same. Pizza, the crusts are so high in salt. And I hope they really start to work at getting the salt out of our bread products because it's, we like them. So we want to get the healthiest ones.
What do you think about sea salt? Everything has got sea salt.
Sea salt is just the same as other salt as far as sodium.
And do you think that that is to promote the product?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, because it's a trendy thing. It's a
Trend.
trend. It's a trend again. Yes.
I'm hearing there's a lot of salt and cheese. I always thought cheese was good for you.
Okay, so
I'm a
is,
big cheese lover.
yes. So the question is, you know, is there a lot of salt in cheese? Because we love cheese so much, and there's a good amount, and we tend to eat a lot of it. So it's better to, you know, still eat it, but eat it in moderation. So
Especially cottage cheese.
yeah.
How about mozzarella cheese?
I think that one might be one of the lower ones because what they do when they make cheese is they put salt in it because they're trying to draw the liquid out of it.
Yeah.
And so the more salt, the harder the cheese is. So the softer cheeses tend to have less sodium, like Swiss cheese hardly has any, and mozzarella would have less also. But
But
again,
still a
when you
lot.
put it on pizza, it seems very high. Yes.
What about baked goods like muffins or zucchini bread, you know, that have a lot, when you make them, you add baking soda?
Yep.
Does that have sodium in it
Yes,
too?
it does. You are
So
correct.
making those
So-
at home, are they still,
I think you're probably, again, you have more control over it at home when you're making your muffins and things like that at home. So, because you're still adding baking soda, which is going to be a sodium product, and you're probably going to add salt to it also, but you can kind of control that a little bit more when you're home. I know that when you buy something out, it's going to be way higher in sodium than if you make it at home, no matter what.
I notice a lot of people in the group eat sauerkraut, and I always thought it had a lot of sodium in it.
Actually, I don't think it does.
No?
Because they really do nothing to the sauerkraut when they make it. They just literally let it ferment.
So
And
it's
I
not a
think-
bad diet choice?
I don't think it's a bad diet
Unless you're
choice.
having it with kielbasa?
Right. Yes, that kielbasa sort of kills it there. I think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, I think we owe Roseanne a huge round